Welcome back to Dum-Dums and Dragons, where improvisers who've never role-played before journey into the world of Dungeons and Dragons. I am the Great Wizard Bukkake, your host. Our heroes are sorting out the remaining complications. Juniper learned about her curse from Krendan and formed the Bite Force. Quinny started to coordinate his new spy empire, and Reginald reminded Quinny to keep honeypotting Vinten Charlamagne. What will happen when the envoy from Demarra finally arrives? Find out next on Dum-Dums and Dragons.
Hey, King Butthole, I got some good news for you, Patty Two Eyes says, rushing up the stairs towards you. It's that guy from Demarra you asked for. He arrived and he's ready to chat.
Oh, good. Okay. I guess get Quinny and Juniper to come to the meeting.
Excellent. So you are in the fortress at the center of Asgard, and you are seeing delegates. The last remaining delegate to arrive is from the nation of Demarra. You've been waiting on this person for a bit. You even thought about delaying your excellent art and parade show for them, but luckily they have arrived, heralded, of course, by Patty Two Eyes. And so you call your council together. It's been an eventful day in Asgard, and it seems there's no signs of slowing down. So you gather everyone in the bite table chamber?
Yeah. Obviously, we wouldn't have that table set up. We'll have to do like the throne. People can approach the throne, that kind of business. But yeah, that chamber feels appropriate.
Great. So Patty Two Eyes ushers in Longadon Geese, a DJ Quails-looking motherfucker wearing like velvet red robes. With a travel backpack slung over one arm, and boots that seem like maybe one size too large. And entering, he comes in and does a very elaborate bow that has a lot of like arms out to the sides, kind of arms up in the air, arms down low, and then bows. And says, Your Highness, hello, my name is Longadon Geese. I am here from Demarra on behalf of Queen Constantina del Casio, and I'm very proud to be here representing Demarra today. Thank you so much for your elegant invitation. I have good news. It arrived while I was already on my way here to pay my respects. So thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm very happy to be here. Your Majesty.
Well, thank you for coming. So I'm King Butthole. This is the Minister of Culture, Quinny Brownbarrow, and this is the Chief Justice, Juniper.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet both of you. Charmed, I'm sure.
Hi.
Good to meet you. Charmed, I'm sure.
All right. Okay. All right.
So it's a pleasure to have you here. We're doing an event tonight to welcome people to Asgard and come to understand some of our new customs. We're changing things up from the way things had been before. We're also sad to hear that there has been some conflict between you and your neighbor Visar.
Whoa, hi. Conflict is a strong term, but I, of course, don't mean to interrupt.
No,
pray
that's
tell,
okay.
What would you like to know, Your Highness?
I'd love to hear what has been going on and what has led to these tensions.
And you just see actually, roll me perception, please. Or you can do insight, your butthole.
That is the wrong die, so we're going to try that again.
D12.
Yeah, that... I roll better on the D12.
Oh, no.
But
But it's insight, so that is a 14.
14?
Oh, my God.
Okay, you see just a brief shadow cross his features that you would interpret as being a little off guard that he has to explain this so soon and that this is even coming up at all. Like very much here to kind of like wine and dine and be, get the Olympic.
Oh, we all finished that sentence.
Yeah. I didn't intend it that way, but
Sorry.
one's away on a business trip. Fun things happen. When you visit the war nation Aka, so many honeymoons. So anyway, he expected to kind of get the Olympic committee treatment of like, show me the finest that Aka has to offer. Instead, he's being asked to do diplomatic relations. So brief. That flits across his face. He recovers, puts his bag down, and says, Your Highness, you mentioned that you're making some changes, and I'm unfamiliar. Forgive me with you and your new court. are you familiar with the concept of a union?
Yes.
Excellent. So, unions are a wonderful way to make sure that everyone is working to each other's mutual benefit and together. And nations are really no different. It is a harsh climate out here. And with the amount of disruption we've seen out this way over the past while, whether it's cities falling from the sky, massive empires disappearing because they try to, depose the god of magic, things like that. The spell plague years back, and then most recently this plague of the undead. Well, the queen is growing increasingly concerned about how vulnerable Demarra is, and Vassar, our sister state, is so powerful with her warlock knights that we simply seek unification, a union, if you will, to bring our ways back to the Bloodstone. It was a unified nation of Vassar and Demarra that could stand against all threats, and we simply want that back. And I am appalled to hear that it has been expressed to you that this is a conflict and not cause for celebration that's merely being held by some bureaucratic nonsense with the Felthanes.
So what do you think the bureaucratic nonsense is that is preventing this from happening? If it's so reasonable, it sounds pretty reasonable.
Well, the warlock knights are very set in their ways. They fear the rise of another witch king, but the Queen Del Casio is a wonderful ruler.
Would she be ruling over this union?
Well, given that that Vassar has a council and Demarra has a queen, it seems only fit, as I'm sure you, a royal, can understand, to have someone at the head of the state who can make the tough decisions required, as opposed to a bunch of warring, power-mad warlocks.
So you'd like a peaceful amalgamation of both of your nations that your queen is fully in charge of?
Correct. Just like it used to be with Bloodstone.
So what kind of different cultural practices are you hoping to bring over? I'm vaguely familiar with these nations. I apologize. I've been away for a long time due to banishment and the general psychopathy of the leading class of this country. But we have deposed those figures and are hoping to move forward to a more civilized and free future.
Oh, that seems wonderful. We simply wish to be a unified front against threats that might face us. You must admit, being familiar with Vassar, that they are kind of spooky. They wear that big, scary armor, they fly around, they have all the powers, they subjugate all the magic people, they really like their hierarchies, and they really like grinding folks under their boot.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want to live next door to those people without some guarantee that they're not going to do that to you? Because I, for one, certainly do not enjoy that.
Okay, so it seems like your big concern is theoretically, again, purely theoretically, we're just discussing this in this room, we're not making any public statements, but theoretically, the fear is invasion.
Either by Vassar or someone else. Vassar is a hard rock, and we are a squishy, delicious grape stuck between that rock and anything that might attack that rock, so I don't want to get squished into wine.
That's reasonable. Would you consider a mutual non-aggression or mutual defense pact, or is the Queen ruling over both nations a necessity?
I would very happily consider that if we were dealing with reasonable people. But when the people you're dealing with ride wyverns and other such creatures around just to show off, it's a little bit hard when you show up on your pack horse.
So, as one could say, a neutral party in these discussions, because none of us, and he gestures to his friends, himself and the crown, none of us have a specific stake in this union, which may mean we are in a position to be able to help negotiate and advocate for both parties. What do you see yourselves bringing to the table? What does Vassar gain out of this union that they don't have right now?
Culture, art, civility, a society, options other than ruler or ruled. Lots of great options. We do it up in Demarra.
Okay, so better time for the people, which sounds like a great deal for the people who are oppressed.
Yes.
And sounds like a terrible deal for everyone who is currently in power or militarized.
I mean, they would benefit from the Queen. She's really great.
What's your queen like?
Can you roll me a
Because Butthole's like, is this Queen
Perception check.
7? Like, that's literally what he's thinking. This Queen is either a child or an idiot.
insight would be fine too.
Insight? Okay. I'm going to use an inspiration.
Yeah, you want to go back
'cause
to that D12? It seemed to be treating
Yeah. From a 2 to a 3. I get a 13.
13. Okay, he seems on the level. Nothing suspicious about this at all. He just says, Queen Del Casio is a wonderful, wonderful ruler. She's endured so much hardship, and yet she has always come out on top. And all I'm saying is Vassar feels a little bit like a child that grew up without parents, just up to no good in the streets, a little, miscreant urchin. And here we have a wonderful mother of nations who could really just elevate everything for all involved. And yes, the Warlock Knights would bitch and complain about no longer being in power. But again, do you deserve the power if you had to make deals and dark pacts to get it? I do not think so.
Tom,
Quinny
what do I know about? Because I'd be looking to the other two now because I'm like, I don't know what I know about Demarra. And like, this could just be somebody who showed up who's like, I'm from Demarra. We're clearly in the wrong. Like at this one, he's like, is this real?
I would also say you guys can both roll perception or insight as well.
I've got 21 on insight.
I won't even say mine.
Quinny and Butthole are both just looking at this being like, this place seems like it's full of stupids.
Yeah.
We don't say it out loud, but we've got that look.
Yeah,
and when
yeah.
Quinny and Butthole are both like, I think this guy might be an idiot. That's like a red flag.
Yeah. So he does seem to be legit. Legitimately from Demarra. In terms of that.
See, what does Juniper see that the rest of us are missing?
That
Yeah.
Demarra's a propaganda machine.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the challenges you have is that you know so little about this area that this guy's story doesn't fully add up because it's a classic, everything we do is amazing and our neighbors are complete asshole monsters. But then you also have firsthand experience of Vassar that confirms that a lot of his fears are justified. Yeah. But the general vibe just, again, seems to be a diplomat's like the propaganda piece. It's a diplomat's diplomat. And he's leaving out a lot of details is I guess what you'd be getting from this. Was there any other information you were kind of seeking from that?
Butthole's big challenge hearing this guy talk is either the leadership is completely insane or they're stupid or this is completely made up because they are offering this kingdom absolutely nothing of value. For Butthole to look at a plan and go, that's some crazy shit, it's a fucking long walk away from reality. But he's like, there's no reward for the council. There's no reward for any of the dictators. There's no reward for anyone who's currently in power that is running an oppressive system. They're showing up and being like, we would like to be in charge, also depower you, also protect the citizens, but they don't have the military ability to enforce that. They don't seem to have any real power other than weird, cool, and have art. King? Which speaks to him. He's like, I like the culture sounds kind of neat. But this does not math out at all. And he's like, there's no middle ground on we want to rule you because we're afraid of you. What if we agree not to attack each other? I don't trust you. It's a nightmare scenario to try to get involved in. Because weirdly enough, at least Vassar is rational, although they have a broken moral code. They're consistent within it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know what the hell to do with this lady. So he's just kind of this what is it, Longadon geese?
Yeah.
Does not know what to do with this guy.
Yeah.
And he's just going to look and say, do you guys have any questions?
Yes. I'm curious. Obviously, it's very important what happens to all members of each nation when, we try to have cooperation. What does your queen plan for the Warlock Knights?
And he just kind of runs a hand back through his hair and he just says, our countries have a complicated history, and the queen having only recently come to power after the death of our king, means that she is still in the early phases of her monarchy and of helping to reshape the region, as it would seem you yourselves are with your deposition of the previous tenants of this particular hallowed hall. We had a good thing going with Bloodstone, and it would seem we could have a good thing again if the people of Vassal would only realize that they are better served serving than they are on their own.
Quinny's like under his breath, leaning over to, for both of you to hear, just like, this is some fucking Bellwinder shit again, guys.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us. We'll have quarters set aside for you so you can rest after your journey. I apologize for having to open with so many probing questions of nations, but it is a critical time for us, and it sounds like for you and the future of Bloodstone and possible unions. We're going to have a number of events tonight to celebrate our new arts and culture, which sounds like something our people could definitely connect over. And we'll send some staff to see to it that your rooms are prepared, that there's food and water. We'll send over our diplomatic representative to say hello. Begin longer and more detailed conversations.
And he nods and just says, thank you, Your Highness, and Chief Justice, Minister of Culture. I just want to really underline that this is an area of tremendous civil unrest. And Bloodstone brought peace to two nations often either caught between other aggressors or at each other's throats. If you seek peace, I beg you to restore the great Gareth Dragonsbane's dream of a unified Vassal and Demarra under the nation of Bloodstone. It was a kingdom truly worthy of note and renown. And whether Vassal sees it or not, it is the only guarantee of peace in our time. I look forward to our arts and culture events. So thank you. And he bows.
Let him leave. And I'm
Laura, you're glowering. Do you want to roll a...
I'm glowering, but Juniper would be keeping a...
I understand. Did you
face.
want to roll a check of any sort to see how earnest she's
bullshit
I
being?
think Butthole's rolling insight again. This guy is just like...
it's... I mean, I think he knows what's up.
Okay, that's a 21.
I also got a 21 on insight.
Quinny's not going to roll because he's confident in his first assessment. He's like, I'm not second guessing anything. This guy's an asshole.
Great. Okay. So, and you are rolling to see if this guy's on the level or what?
Butthole is trying to figure out, knowing that this part of the speech is probably the most practiced, which means this is like, this guy could be riffing answers to questions he might not have been prepared for. You don't know this. This part feels to Butthole like something the Queen was part of crafting. So he wants to read like how much of that feels true versus a manipulation. Like, can he put together what he knows of this area and has felt out? Like, true, false? Do they believe this? Is this the cell? Like, what's that? That's where I'm at. I don't know where Juniper's at.
Yeah, something similar. I mean, have we heard anything about Bloodstone other than this? Like, aside from this, the name sounds familiar.
I would take a
can't remember.
history check.
Yeah.
It was, I believe, mentioned in passing by
Felthane?
the Felthane Vinten.
Butthole's got a whole 12 on
Charlamagne.
history.
8.
Okay, so Butthole, you're not familiar with
Gareth Dragonsbane.
no, not as such, and specifically not with Bloodstone's probably a term you've heard, but it sounds like in modern parlance it'd be the equivalent of like a kid today hearing about the USSR. It's like, okay, like sure, I understand that was a thing, but like that seems like a long time ago.
Tom, if I spent an evening previously with Vinten Charlamagne, is there a chance that I might recall anything mentioned in passing about Bloodstone?
No,
Okay.
interestingly.
That's-
You talked mostly about warlocky stuff, but
We
there
did.
wasn't
did.
there wasn't a lot of that, which is in and of itself useful information. In terms of Ryan, your check, this last piece actually, even though it sounds a bit by rote, you can tell this is kind of his Hail Mary, and that he maybe wasn't supposed to say this, that he does feel oddly genuine, like he, not necessarily in a this is true and you should believe it way, but not quite fanatical, but it's in that ballpark. Like, these are the words of a true believer, really trying to impart like their beliefs to you. And then Juniper, to your question of the history and everything else, like it is, you just don't know a lot about this region. But the math doesn't work.
No.
And for me to say that, the fucking math doesn't work, because I think math that does work, I could be wrong. Yeah. So, but this math I know is bad.
Juniper's already thinking like, oh, this queen just wants to conscript Vasa's army in power. Likely. Probably.
Okay, so that was weird.
I think the peace thing is bullshit.
This guy that was bad. That's like,
oh, yes.
Vasa would hate that. I would hate that. Weirdly, if these are the two sides of the conflict, I think I'm with the Warlock Knights.
I mean,
neither of them wants peace.
Do we have to pick a side?
We don't, but I'm saying, like, at least the Warlock Knights are like, we are having an issue with this neighbor trying to, like, cause an uprising. And then the neighbor's like, yeah, we want to uprise and we want them to work for us so they're all our employees now. And I'm like, they're evil, but that sucks as a deal.
Yeah.
I think this guy, though, we're never going to get anything useful in terms of what's actually happening on the ground. And I don't think there's any way he traveled alone. Like, that feels like I got servants with me as a human.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm thinking we send Bucky in to go do the official diplomatic welcome.
It's his job, yeah.
You, in disguise or something, go try to talk to one of the staff members, whoever drove him here, whoever his butler is, something like that. If we can get a conversation with a staff member, just like a regular human who doesn't believe the queen is going to take over the world or whatever. Gareth Dragonsbane. Like,
I wish we could have people go to all of these places and actually get a read on what things are like for the average person.
Oh, man, that sounds like season 7 of a show to me.
I mean, I think that's a longer term goal.
Mm-hmm.
But not too long.
Not too long. But I was trying to figure out a way we might be able to get more information today. We've got two very biased sides, and we don't have anybody currently we can afford to
Roll
send.
me an insight check, please.
That's a nat 1. I think my idea is pretty good. I got nothing else, so let's do this.
You know who might be able to give you some advice?
Oh, fuck.
It's Moonhammer.
Oh, I thought you were going to do
Fallomeyer Pinkmeyer.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah,
that's better. I was going to make you snap prayer, but I bet Fallomeyer knows tons of shit. She's so smart.
There's one person in this castle who I think can help us.
Goblin Jr. straightens up a little bit.
Always. But in this case, I'll call for them. And he goes to the door and makes the announcement and goes back to his seat. And then minutes later, as you just sit outside, the door is open. And Fallomeyer walks in and he says, "Oh, thank you so much for coming. A true friend of this crown."
Of course, I anticipated your need before your humble servant Patricia of the Two Eyes arrived. Do you get me? Pat Joyce, that's right, she did. I knocked and she was already in a room.
Amazing. So cool. So much power. So cool, right, Quinny? So cool.
Where
Okay.
else would she be?
She puts her hand to the side of her head and says, I sense questions and answers needed.
Quinny and Juniper are exchanging just so many like sidelong glances, like this lady.
Every time Butthole's looking over, you're like, can you believe she knew this already? Okay, so I have a question about one of the nations here. We're trying to figure out what's going on with Demarra.
Ah, the nation of Demarra.
Yes.
Yes, such a tragedy that befell their wonderful queen, Del Cassio, recently.
Oh, what tragedy was that?
I should not speak of such things in... She looks at Quinny and Juniper and just says, such mixed company.
Oh, which one of them needs to leave?
Your
None
Highness,
of them.
I sense great distrust from both of them. One has proven, she glares at Juniper, she's like, one has proven she is not trustworthy, and the other continues to glower and says snide things at a volume that is very audible. I fear my magics cannot occur in the face of such things, and the energies of your Mr. Quentin Brownbarrow might interfere with mine. He has interfered with my magics before.
What magic? Just tell us the rumor that you know about the queen.
Was telling you about the cloak not enough for you? Are you so power-hungry that you seek more mysteries beyond the veil?
Well, hold up now, because you're questioning someone's desire for answers both times. With the cloak and today, the king of Asgard asked for your help. So if you're too put upon by the king of Asgard, you can tell him he's here. You don't have to direct that at me, but I'd be careful because he's the fucking king of Asgard.
Go ahead and roll intimidation.
17.
I got a 3 plus stuff. So she considers this, and you see her lip twitch a little bit. She says, wait. And then she looks back to you, Butthole. She says, the spirits of the spell weave tell me I must trust them.
Oh.
And thus I shall, in this instance alone.
Thank you for your bravery, and we thank you for your service.
You're welcome. I thank you for acknowledging it. It is quite a burden. You ask of Demarra. The queen was targeted by Malcanthet, the queen of succubi. It was a truly horrible affair that led to the death of the king and the ascension of the queen. If only they had perhaps more magical powers to assist them, but sadly they lost those when the Witch King rose.
Who is the Witch King again?
A very dead threat, although his malice lingers still. The warlock knights rose in his stead, and, shall we say, ensured that no further union between Demarra and Vassar was possible, razing Bloodstone City to the ground. This was, child, not long ago in my understanding, but for you some many decades past, some 30 or 40 years, when the two nations united under one hero's will split the fragile peace his heirs oversaw. A single tear drops.
Okay, so you're doing great. I'm kind of stupid. So there was Gareth Dragonsbane, I'm assuming was the hero who had the Bloodstone.
Yes,
and then,
he unified the countries.
Yeah. Unified those decades ago, or unified those a long time ago and it broke up again?
Long time ago, several generations ago.
Great.
And unification, Your Highness, and she glares at Quinny, but having been intimidated, kind of has to give a slightly more honest answer than she would otherwise. As unified is perhaps a strong term.
He conquered them all?
He conquered Vassar, annexed them, and brought them in under the nation of Bloodstone, as he declared it. Quite heroic in the annals of history, and yet perhaps not to those of Vassar.
Okay, so
his heirs brought a fragile peace for generations, but with the rise of the Witch King and the Warlock Knights, that peace was shattered as they fought back, razed the city, and declared themselves independent once more.
Was the Witch King the one that was married to Del Cassio?
No, that was a different man. He got killed in a succubi thing. Yes, there's a lot of separate kingdoms around
here. So the
here.
Witch King and the Warlock Knights were like, no more being controlled by you, people who conquered us, and they have their own country now.
You are correct.
And on the other side, there was Queen Del Cassio, who was like, I'm sad that I don't have this anymore. And she was married to some guy, and then she teamed up with a succubus.
Oh, no, she was abducted by a succubus.
She was kidnapped by a succubus, and then her husband died unrelated?
In an attempt to save her, yes.
Oh, heroic.
She was saved and has returned, but
who was she saved by?
It's a whole story. You'll have to wiki it.
Okay, so it's not important, is what we're saying to what I'm doing right now.
Yes, that is what I'm saying.
He
died. There was a whole adventure. The Forgotten Realms are vast, and their stories plentiful. Sometimes we touch upon them. Other times you'll need to go to your local library.
Okay, so Queen Del Cassio, is she like a good queen or kind of like I can be honest with you, you're a friend, kind of like a piece of shit?
For the first time you see sweat up here. It twinkles majestically across her forehead.
I'm sorry my questions are taxing your powers so greatly.
I understand. It is fine. The spellweave is quite disruptive today.
He would like to reach out and just cast guidance upon her to help carry some of the burden.
Okay, great. So she's going to roll a deception check.
She gets to add to D4 now.
Lie to you, yeah.
Oh, yeah, maybe that's a 19. I got a 4 on my guidance, and I get to add a bunch of stuff. So she simply says, the queen is wonderful.
Oh,
I'll let the two of you, Quinny and Juniper, roll insight or perception on this. Butthole's taken in because of the high roll for her.
That's a nat 20 on insight.
Hell yeah. And that is on perception. Oh, 22.
Yeah, nope. This is not. She's not telling the truth about this. She is hiding information from the king, very clearly.
I go to like share another look of like, this is messed up with Butthole, but he's like not looking at me.
He's just looking at her, taking it in, and be like, so she's great.
Wonderful.
That sounds wrong. Magic felt disturbed for a moment in the air.
No, it didn't. It was good.
No, I'm a magic user too, and I definitely That felt off.
Yeah,
She
we're not
licks
asking-
her finger and puts it up to there. She says, nope, see, it's fine.
I'm-
Believe is fine.
Maybe it's different because you use alpha magic and you use regular magic.
That confuses me. The concept of
Should I-
alphas is made up, but
If I were to cast Zone of Truth, not saying that I'm going to without people's consent, but would your answer be the same?
Oh, that's fine. We're all people who are telling the truth. Cast it up. Go for it.
Okay.
as an envoy of the Misty Forest and the
Oh.
High Forest, I do not feel comfortable in your zone of truth.
Oh, that's reasonable.
Frankly,
Yes,
this whole
that's fair.
conversation is making me very taxed and uncomfortable.
I'm so sorry.
After all of my work with the crystals and the cloac, I would assume that I was above suspicion, and yet here we are.
I mean, you're above my suspicion. Sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. I think
Your
we're
Highness,
cool.
are you sure you have the correct
No, it's
counsel?
just interesting that we've heard a lot of conflicting stories.
Yeah. It's
No one else that really thinks that the queen is great.
new to us that someone as magically adept as yourself needs to apparently tap into the weave to remember shit.
I mean,
She Misty steps out of the room.
oh, she's gone. I write up a quick little thank you, and I sent it along with Patty Two Eyes, and I explained my counsel could be wrong about a lot of things, but they've both literally died for me before, so it's hard to not trust them. Like they're going to stick around. Like,
I'll go take
Yeah, it's-
I'll go see if I can find her.
thank you. She's probably in her quarters, but if she's walking around and she's offended or something, put together like a fruit basket and send that.
And you see Patty think, she's okay, yeah, like the bagels. I got you.
No. Check in with Annan before you send it.
Okie dokie, I'll go check in with that other lady.
Okay, good. She's going to actually get fruit.
Butthole, that Pink Blossom lady is not on the level.
No, not at all.
I don't know. She seems really powerful. She solved the cloac thing.
look,
She got the portal working.
Yeah, she's been useful, but it's kind of like usefulness with an agenda, it seems like.
Yeah.
I think she really wants you to like her. I don't know why, but a bullshitter knows a bullshitter, and that's a bullshitter.
But she does seem really helpful, though. Like, I didn't know any of this history about the Dragon's Bane or the taking over of the Bloodstone. And now
No,
we do.
and she lied about the queen.
I think you started to ask like the right questions that she seemed to get pretty uncomfortable about. Did you catch that? She
was
played it
like-
off as like struggling to use magic.
Yeah,
but
then
again,
I helped her use the magic, and that's why she got stronger.
right, but it's not magic, butthole. We're asking her about what she knows. We're not asking her to cast some like augury. We're
all
not
that
asking her
like looking into the weave to remember things. She's not actually
like she shouldn't
looking
have
into the
to.
weave.
She
That's
shouldn't
not
have
a-
to
that's not a
consult
thing.
the tea leaves to tell you what she had for breakfast this morning.
Just a second. Like, when you guys use magic, it's not based on your feelings and just naturally who you are.
I mean, not for me. No, mine's based on a deal I kind of got tricked into, and then the bastard's mom took over the contract. Thank God she's, a lot more easy to work with, but it's her magic. I'm just leasing it, basically.
Juniper, how
I
does your
mean, I
magic
kind of
work?
pull from the weave, but it's kind of filtered through like Sylvanus.
So what is that? Like, is it because like,
It's pretty neutral.
well, because like I'm a cleric and then a god, so like when I feel a thing really strongly, it happens, and when I think about a thing really strongly, it happens, and then I can get tired doing magic. So that what she does makes sense to me. Does not all magic work the way I deal with magic?
No, man. No. I need like
Shit.
I need like a 1 hour break tops, and I'm good to go again.
Yeah, and I find it physically can be taxing to do some like magic stuff, but like not for that kind of thing.
So you're saying she is a very powerful, very wise wizard, but might be occasionally fudging things a bit.
Honestly, she's been pretty useful so far, but it all has this vibe of an ulterior motive. And then when you started asking the right kind of questions, she dodged them by feigning fatigue. She had enough energy or whatever to teleport out of here. All I'm saying is she seems helpful up to a point, and then when it's, I guess, not convenient for her, not so helpful anymore. She's an envoy. I mean, whatever. But I just be careful. You're a king and you're a very nice fellow and you make friends. That's what you do. And not everyone, I think, is going to be your friend here. Right? Like, you talked to me a little bit about this of like some of these people are going to be assholes.
My guess is she's not wanting to speak against either nation. I mean, basically saying like,
Oh yeah, an
basically
envoy
gave us a history that said, oh yeah, well, we understand why, the warlock knights and stuff and Witch King wanted to be rid of the people that had conquered them, right? And at the same time, she won't speak ill of the Queen of Demarra. So it might just be like trying to stay politically neutral when she doesn't know where we stand yet. Could just be that stress.
I mean, she's in the Lord's Alliance, right?
Yeah.
So I don't get why she doesn't want to speak truthfully about groups that aren't in the Lord's Alliance. I don't know why she needs to be delicate.
I don't know either. Okay, so if that's true, because maybe we're all just jealous of her incredible power.
No, that's not. That's not.
It could
true
be a
here.
part of it. It could be a part of it. Unknowing bias. Just because you look at someone powerful and you're like, they can't be that good and that strong.
I'm trying to do a lot of self-examination right now, and I don't think I'm jealous of her.
That's healthy. But what if you're wrong? Okay. So we got to go talk to the Demarra person. If we can find out if they're servants or whatever, have equivalent stories, then we know that it checks out in terms of her story and in terms of the advisor's story. So that makes sense.
The Demarra rep isn't going to, Geese there, Mr. Geese is not going to speak against the Queen.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, have Bucky go talk to Geese. And if you can get to talk to his servant, whoever carried his bags, whoever drove his truck, like we just need a local who's not going to diplomat it as much.
Servant to servant. Let's talk about how shitty the rulers are.
Yeah.
It might be interesting to know what the other members of the Lord's Alliance think.
I was saying, just get the driver for Demarra, and then maybe Juniper as like local justice to local justice. You could go talk to that Culkin, the spy from the Lord's Alliance, who's doesn't seem to have a specific country within the Lord's Alliance.
She's like an agent. Zora Rosalind Culkin.
She's there for theoretically the whole thing, so you might be able to confirm some weird, because it seems like there's even weirdness going on there, and we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And then we could try to math that out. Here's the weird thing. I'm starting to feel kind of empathetic towards the Visar people. Because if they'd been under somebody's boot forever and they'd been trapped inside this nation and they didn't know what to do, so then they had to take whatever power they could, which unfortunately came from a source of evil, to break free. And then you just have a whole leadership that built a country around desperately wanting to not be oppressed again, but they end up becoming the oppressors. We're just like several generations away from people who very well could have been heroes, just making like bad short-term decisions that buried a country.
Way out of my wheelhouse of like, yeah, I feel bad for people, but anything we do in any official capacity is like an act of war against a nation. So I don't even know. Man.
Oh, I'm not saying invade anybody. This is going to be
but I'm saying even like a public condemnation of how a certain country does things. I
mean, we don't even need. But the thing is, we don't even need to make a public condemnation. Just wanting to do trade or open up some economic ties with either nation might be enough for the other to want us to go down with them.
Oh, endless possibilities here. All I'm saying is I'm in a weird but probably good place where previously I was like, look at those warlock knights. They're a problem of pure evil. And then you find out a little more backstory and you're like, they're kind of misguided too, kind of like the people from here. We might be able to do some positive shining examples or whatever. You know what? We can all do justice and the right thing, but for now I need us to manipulate them, talk to their servants, and find out from a spy what the hell is going on. And then paint night.
I mean, that's much more in my wheelhouse.
I'll need you around for paint night. I gotta become Mrs. Paisley.
Okay. Go Bite Force.
Do you want to say paint night again?
Paint night. Bite Force.
So, Bucky.
Yeah? Yeah, voice in my head?
Bucky has been dispatched to make friends with all the envoys. Who do you start with?
Who's the closest?
Honestly, based on what we've described, it's Falmeyer.
Yeah.
Just sees one, just runs to them.
Yeah.
So Falmeyer,
frantic knocking.
She Misty steps in front of you.
Yeah, you're knocking, and then suddenly there's just a puff of like Misty step behind you. You just hear, fucking shit, goddamn, what a nightmare. And then suddenly she looks up at you and goes, oh, hello, child.
Oh, hello.
Pardon me, you've caught me Misty step.
Oh, that's totally fine. I was knocking on this door. Is it your room?
Yes, child, you've found yourself at my door. What work do you require?
Well, hello. Pleasure to meet you. My name is Bucky, and I'm the delegate for wherever this place is.
I believe it is now known as Oscard.
Oscar, that's me.
Oscar. Wonderful. Welcome. Please step into my chambers. Actually, give me a moment. She opens the door and quickly moves some laundry around because she hasn't been posing in it. And then says, "Please enter, and all the mysteries shall be revealed."
Okay.
So you come in and sit down, and she goes and sits just high enough off a chair that it looks kind of like she's hovering, but she's clearly just awkwardly posed. And she says, "How may I assist you?" as she begins to tremble a little bit from holding her body in that way.
Oh, well, I'm the delegate for Osgard, a servant of King Mudbowl. King Butthole.
King Mudbowl.
Servant for King Butthole. And he told me to come down here and say hello to all the other delegates and representatives from the other nations. Where are you from? What's your name?
I am Fallenmeyer Pinkblossom. I come on behalf of the High Forest and the Misty Forest.
Wow. Can we be friends?
One who lives as long as I knows many acquaintances, but true friendship must be earned. Tell me, young dragon boy, what can you provide by way of friendship?
Oh, I was told not to promise anybody anything, but I could clean up your room.
Well, then I suppose you may call High Forest and Misty Forest friend. You can start with the linens. I haven't touched them since I got here. They're a little bit drab. Can you do anything about the color?
Yeah, no problem.
Dear Bucky, this seems like the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
I look forward to it.
Great. Now, fucking hurry up. I'm busy.
Okay.
And as you do that, Long Don Geese finds his way to his room. The rest of the envoys carry about their business, and you clean Fallenmeyer Pink Blossom's room. Look, is there anything you'd be trying to figure out during this, or are you just trying to do a good job?
I'm just trying to, separate the color from the whites and the darks and the laundry and stuff like that, so it doesn't get any the colors don't bleed into the whites and stuff like that in the wash and all that. But he's been doing this at Fortress of Forlorn Hope since he moved in, so he's quite proficient at it. He gets it done pretty fast, but it's purely just I got to do a good job.
As you do that, a small as you move the sheets around and stuff, and she's busy. She's in a trance and clearly talking to someone on the equivalent of a thaumaturgical cell phone. And she sort of comes and goes. As you're doing all this, there's a small thump as you're moving sheets and things around, and it would seem a small wooden stamp has fallen out. And upon looking at the face of it, you can see a crescent moon with a harp in it, inset on it. And traces of wax from having stamped hot wax.
Does that symbol hold any meaning for Bucky?
I mean, given Bucky's aptitude for stories of heroes and adventurers, yeah, this is the image of the Harpers.
Hey.
Okay, so he's folding laundry at this point. The wash is done. He's folding it. He used there is a spell for this. I think it's prestidigitation.
Yeah,
just eliminated the moisture in the clothes and they're dry now.
Yep.
And he's folding the laundry and stuff like that. And this thing tumbles out. And if she is in the room, he will pick it up and be like,
"Excuse me, Miss Pink Blossom, your Harper symbol, it fell out of your laundry."
And she turns, and her face falls slightly, and she says, "Oh, child, I truly wish you hadn't seen that."
This episode of Dum-Dums and Dragons features the voices of Ryan LaPlante at the Ryan LaPlante on Twitter, Tyler Hewitt at Tyler_Hewitt on Twitter, Laura Hamstra at EL Hamstring on Twitter, and our DM Tom McGee at McGeeTD on Twitter. This episode's sound was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and Dum-Dums and Dragons artwork is by Del Borovic, who can be found at delborovic.com. Our theme songs are And Now for That Massive Coronary and Skipping Through the Orchestra Pit Part 1 by Peter Gresser, and our ad music is No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR, all available at freemusicarchive.org. When it comes to Dum-Dums and Dice, you can visit our website at dumdumdice.com. Our Twitter and Instagram are at dumdumdice, and on Facebook at facebook.com/dumdumdice. But most importantly, we've got merchandise at redbubble.com/people/dumdumdice, or you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. DICE, and tune in next week for more Dum-Dums and Dragons. Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time: Christopher Little, George Dolby, Richard Cranium, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Stabby Stranger, Glitch Trick, Flynn1138, Alarain Okapi, Schrodinger's Pepper, Guy Edwards, Madre de Gatos, Lady Maiden, Garbo Ape, Locke, Sam Schaefer, Waffle Marine, Dagger Rain, Rob L, Dia De Los Hoodless, Squishy Werewolf, Remy Funky Head, Nomad, the Wise Paladin of the Badlands, Accent Therapeutic Services in Florence, Kentucky, Lael, Shulzari, Gus Schreider, The Long Family, Jordan Oliver, Richard Wright, Brittany Fenwick, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.